I think the primary reason why everyone is talking about Alphabet stock right now is because of the company's advancements in artificial intelligence. I'm going to cover some of those latest developments here that management reported to Wall Street analysts and investors and shareholders during their earnings call transcript following the company's quarterly financial release. These are some critical insights that I think all Alphabet stock investors need to know about.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So Alphabet saying that we operate the leading global network of AI optimized data centers and cloud regions. We offer the industry's widest range of TPUs and GPUs along with storage and software built on top. So, for those that didn't already know, GPUs are the graphic processing units. This is the category that NVIDIA dominates and has an estimated 90% market share in these data centers optimized for artificial intelligence. TPUs are Alphabet's custom made chips. They make these themselves and offer them to customers that may not want to pay for NVIDIA's GPUs or also may not have access to NVIDIA's GPUs because oftentimes access to NVIDIA based systems are sold out. And so the TPUs offer customers a cheaper option and offer customers availability for computing when otherwise might not be available using NVIDIA's GPUs. They went on to say that they continue to expand their Gemini 2.5 family of hybrid reasoning models, which provide industry-leading performance in nearly every major benchmark. I've used Gemini, and I've used ChatGPT and Cloud, and I would say that Gemini is comparable to those. I don't use these AI models, I don't push them to the limit to find the edge of their performance and find which one is better. It just depends on your use case and what you happen to be using these models for to determine where you allocate more of your time. What I like about Google's AI is that if you're already using its other services, it incorporates well. For example, if you're already using Gmail or Workspace, and then you get the AI on top of that, it incorporates well to the rest of the Alphabet ecosystem, where you don't get that so much with ChatGPT or the other AI models. There are already 9 million developers building on Gemini, and that enhances the ecosystem. The more developers are using Gemini, the more it enhances the use cases, the more opportunity for the users of these products that get access to these new developments, making it more attractive and increasing the number of people using it, which is already growing significantly. In May, they announced that they processed 480 trillion monthly tokens across their surfaces. Since then, they've doubled that number, now processing over 980 trillion monthly tokens. A remarkable increase. The Gemini app now has more than 450 million monthly active users, and we continue to see strong growth in engagement with daily requests growing over 50% from Q1. So if you're ever curious why Alphabet, Microsoft, and Amazon are spending hundreds of billions of dollars building these data centers optimized for AI and why there's all this investment in AI, here's a good example of that. The use is increasing so significantly that investment is following because these companies realize that people love using this. People are finding this incredibly valuable. Uh, 450 million monthly active users in a relatively short amount of time. That would be, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know Meta Platforms has over 3 billion monthly active users. Um, but the next biggest social media site, I believe, might be close between Snap and Pinterest. And they're right around this level. about 450 million monthly active users, and they've been around for a long time, growing to become at that level. Gemini, it's only been a couple of years here. Late 2022 uh, is when these models really first came out. So it's only been a couple of years. We're very early stages of development here, and it's growing so significantly. And I know there's been a lot of talk about how Alphabet will lose market share in Google search and it'll go more towards these AI search modes, but they have their own AI as well. So, sure, it's cannibalizing its own business, and the search queries that are going to Gemini are more costly to serve because you have to use more power to generate these tokens than you would a traditional search engine answer. Um, but it's growing so significantly that in the end, Alphabet may end up better off than it was before. Or, sure, there's a risk that they may end up worse off than they were before, but I don't think they will end up significantly worse off, because they're capturing some of that business with their own AI models. And I've been talking about this a lot in that the overall size of the search pie is increasing meaningfully. So even if Alphabet has a smaller share of that overall pie, the size of the pie is increasing, as you can see with this statistic here. And, I'm sure ChatGPT can report similarly, if not higher, monthly active user numbers. So people really like using these services, and they're using it for more and more deeper type of questions, more occasions, and asking more, engaging more with the large language models than they would be with the traditional search engine. So it's a risk to both sides of the equation for Alphabet. It's a risk that this could cannibalize their search business, which is much more profitable and much and more lucrative, at least in the near term. And it's a risk that they don't have as strong a competitive advantage competing in large language models. As I mentioned, ChatGPT and the others are close to Alphabet, if not better, in terms of large language models, whereas Google search is dominant against other search engines. So it is a risk to be sure, but it's good to see that they are fighting in the category and they're not just sitting back and letting their Google search customers go somewhere else entirely. They're at least capturing many of them in their own large language model. By the way, this document I'm reading from is Alphabet's second quarter 2025 earnings call transcript. I have this highlighted document available for my channel members. You go to your membership benefits section and you can see the file that has this earnings call transcript, the highlighted version available, as well as more than 2 dozen other companies. If you haven't joined yet, there's a link in the description. You can learn all about becoming a channel member. Hey everyone, so many of you have been asking about my investing strategy, and I'm excited to announce that I've written a book that's available for sale now that describes my 6-step investing framework for evaluating stocks. I've added the link in the description below.